There's this principle that we learned about in our journey to in entrepreneurship. It's called your reticular activating system, and basically, it's something within your brain that it's like you're unaware to certain things until somebody makes you aware of it. Like if you're walking through an airport, you're not going to respond to hearing people call a name. You're going to respond if you hear your name because that's what you are aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And there was at the beginning of 2022. Things started to shift for us from the business space. And I remember we had one of those come to Jesus. Malcolm wants to talk about the finances conversation, my favorite.
Let's sit down.
Yes, we should talk. And I'm like, goodly. I already know what's about to happen. And so I remember we sat down. We were in our office at the townhouse and we were talking about what was going on with the money. And in that moment, you said, I think we need to diversify because our income was solely coming from one stream. It was, I think sometimes when it gets high, you forget that it's still one.
Mm-hmm.
And you had said at the moment, we need to discuss diversifying the income because we will live and die by this one source. Even if it's a business, I think when people get into entrepreneurship, they forget that it's the same concept as you losing a job or having a job, just because the income is still solo dolo.
Mm-hmm.
And when you said that, I think my reticular activating system started to find opportunities or be just open and receptive to receiving things, different people, different ideas, different opportunities, different business plays, different moves, and investments, because you have now awakened the portal in my brain that says
Right.
It's time to diversify. We need to find more ways to make money. And this is how we get to Amazon.
Amazon FBA.
Amazon FBA. And it was good until it wasn't.
This is the whole truth and nothing but the truth about
Our experience,
our personal experience with Amazon, but Amazon FBA in the business model in its entirety, and the gurus that sell it as a as a service. You're about to learn the full God honest truth because we're not holding anything back
of our experience.
Our experience.
Our first investment experience that was our picking. So it's you keep posting about it. So I guess it's time for us to talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So I'm gonna start off by saying, when I had that conversation with you, this is what I was looking at. I'm like, okay, we're making amazing money, the most money we've ever made thus far, as long we've been in that business. We'll talk about that business in another episode.
Yeah.
But we were making a substantial amount of money, and I'm like, okay, this is great and all, but this is our only source of income right now. If I'm looking left and I'm looking right, and I'm now starting to get like, okay, this is not feeling as secure as it once was, because I started understanding the realities of what we had. We were wanting solely basing our income off of business, which is kind of risky in a sense, because business is up and down. Business is up and down regardless. There's good seasons, there's bad seasons. There's stagnant seasons. So that's what I started looking at in its entirety. And I came to you and I'm like, look, we gotta diversify. I don't know into what. I don't know what we need to invest into, but let's invest into either businesses, start buying a business, or and profiting on the back end, or starting an investment portfolio where we start creating some residual income.
Yeah.
All right, now I didn't know that it's really, really difficult to make legit passive income.
Explain.
What I mean by that is,
because according to social media marketing, and this is not bad, because one, we've been in social media marketing for business, but I think this is a coined phrase I have coined on the podcast called glorified entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I think in the space of glorified entrepreneurship right now is that everybody thinks that everything is easy. A lot of things are simple.
Yes.
But a lot of the marketing from an internet space has to give you the mindset of easy money, quick money, fast money, a lot of money. And so I think it's important the reason why I asked you like to elaborate on how hard it is to actually create passive income is because it's presented to us as if it's really simple. I mean, it's really, really easy. There are really simple ways, but I think it's important to really break that down. And this is not speaking ill of it because we have made money fast.
Yes, absolutely. And this is to give y'all the understanding of reality and not just social media, because social media will make you believe that passive income is out here everywhere. There's opportunity everywhere for you to make an extra 1,000, 2,000, and
or that
tens of thousands.
Opportunity.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they make it seem like it's so easy to achieve this kind of income. And I want you to be thinking of a long-term mindset of, can I be making this every month? Can I rely on this income as passive income? And people don't understand how hard it is to just make an extra $1,000 a month. And when I say that, I want you to think of it in this aspect. The backbone of America is real estate, right? And for hundreds of years, let's take over the last century. Over the last century, people have taken on the utmost risk in order just to make $5, $6, maybe even $300 extra a month in passive income. Now, what I mean by that, there are landlords out here that will buy real estate. They'll buy homes, they'll buy apartment buildings, they'll buy multifamily units, and these could cost anywhere from $100, $200, even $1 million in income. I'm crying. Not in income, in debt. So they'll put themselves in $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 or more in debt in order to receive a mortgage, to put a tenant in it, to charge them. Maybe say your mortgage, your mortgage is $1,000 a month to pay this loan off over 30 years. You're probably going to charge that renter maybe $1,500, $1,600. So what are you taking on risk wise in order to make an extra $500 or $600 a month in passive income? And then not only that, they'll do that, and they'll do that 30 times over. So you're making $500 30 times. Yeah, that it seems like it's a lot of money, but after expenses, after so many risks that you take on, how much money are you actually coming out profit?
And I think even before you even move forward with that and talking about profit, I think it's important to talk about or to just make note of the difference between profit and revenue. Because a lot of times when we're hearing numbers, we are depending on the business model, because this isn't with all business models, but a lot of people do talk about profit and how much I've made, or how much a store has made or this has made. But a lot of times they're referring to the revenue of it, of like the total, but they're not including the expenses, as if, okay, if I profited, or this is how it's put. Okay, from the example you just gave, I charge somebody $1,500. Sometimes it's presented as I have created an extra $1,500 a month, but you actually profited $500,
correct?
Because your expenses are $1,000 on said business. And sometimes, like just from small details like profit versus revenue, we don't get the full picture from a social media standpoint and how things are marketed. And we're telling you all of this because when you look at certain things, especially with our Amazon business and everything like that, and you start to see even how long it took it to turn a profit, which wasn't that long, but it's like when you see I'm seeing the money, but this is not profit yet. This is only the revenue, because things have to be now purchased and extracted, sent out, blah, blah, blah. And so I think it's important, just that small note of how different you look at things if it's presented from a revenue standpoint versus just a profit standpoint. But you're right. Like there's people that are doing so many things just to get an extra $600 a month, and realizing that the average person only really, average, you know what I'm saying? I'm not speaking of people who want to be multimillionaires and make their first $100,000, et cetera. Most people would be great if they can make an extra $600 to $2,000 a month.
Correct. Yeah, that's the average human being, and rightfully so, because it's not easy. And I want people to understand that it's not easy to take on risk to be able to make an extra $1,000 a month or extra $2,000 a month. Because if it was easy, you would already have that as a staple of income that you can rely on.
Mm-hmm.
So, within saying that, I just want you to understand the mindset of an investor and the reality of what's out here.
Mm-hmm.
And just to say that the mind frame that we were now in, I was in, okay, let's make this money grow legs. Let's make this money grow legs, and let's start racking up possible, passive income plays. My goal before we had done this, my goal was to create 7 to 10 passive income streams for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very, very aggressive in my thought process. You know what I'm saying? Because I was trying to do this within a year. So you can see how ferocious my mindset was when it came to it.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to me about how this opportunity came about to you, because you came to me with it.
And now that I'm about to take this back, what's really funny about it, let me tell the story. Okay. I went on a business trip, and ironically, this was at the time that you had decided to part ways in that business. And so you didn't attend this trip with me. That's what I was about to say. What are I wonder what the conversation would have been like had you heard it from my perspective of me getting the information versus
like from the horse's mouth. Okay.
Like for me to even bring it to you at all. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so because I already know that my husband's goal at this time, this actually happens later.
Yeah.
And so this is probably like the conversation we had is probably like a month later. So anyway, long story short, I'm in Houston, and you decided not to come on that trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm in the car, I'm dropping one of my business partners off, and he was telling me, yo, Britt, like I just started this store. I got somebody who's running it for me. Really, really dope process. I think at the time, and the thing was, I think what made me feel safe is that he was saying that his profit right now was only $500, $800 a month. It wasn't nothing crazy, but it was enough. You know what I'm saying? It's enough to start that passive income plan. I'm like, cool. What was the buy-in? My questions are always the Malcolm questions. What is Malcolm going to ask me? Malcolm's going to ask me how much does it cost? What's the process? Talking about what does it require? Et cetera, et cetera. So I start asking all those questions, and to me, y'all know at this point that I've said I'm an opportunist. Like I seek out opportunities. I'm looking for an opportunity. I'm looking to be connected to things because at the end of the day, my whole entrepreneurship journey started simply because I couldn't find a job when I needed one. So at this point, anything could go. When I first moved to Atlanta in 2016. So when I'm hearing this, it sounds like a good bet. It sounds low risk. It sounds like, and then it wasn't sounding fast. It didn't sound like, oh yeah, you're going to make money tomorrow. Like, nah, he was saying he had been doing it and scaling his store up at this point. I think it had been like 4 or 6 months. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, and now you're like, how long is it going to take you to turn a profit? How long is it going to, take for you to make your money back, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like it was just in the back of my mind for so long after that, just lingering of like, I wonder what that's like, because I feel like at the time it was when a lot of people had got into e-commerce.
Yeah. It was.
We had a couple friends and business partners who had started selling, building their stores. I feel like most of them had
selling the rolls,
dismantled it at this point, but they were selling the rolls and they were making bread like 6 figures,
hand over fist,
$10,000, $50,000. Some these are multiple stores, so some were 6 figures, some were $10,000, $50,000 in its first month, 2 months, 90 days. And so at this point, I'm like, y'all got to get in this e-com game, because the truth of the matter is, I wanted to sell the rolls back in July. I had told Malcolm that I literally said,
you were the first person I heard say anything about it.
I gotta sell one of these because I approve. Because I was telling all my friends, I'm like, yo, you got to get one of these, blah, 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 blah.
They should have gave you a check.
They should have gave me a check. The only way to get a check was to be on my own store. But anyway, I didn't understand that model of business because I hadn't been in e-commerce. So I thought this was my way to get into the e-com game, but I don't have to know everything of how to build it. And we were also in a place of automation at the time too, of like, well, how can I invest into something that I don't have to have my hands physically in? Because the business that we were building, that we'll talk about in another episode, but that business in particular required us to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things that you look at is like, okay, you have your businesses that you actually build, and then you have your businesses that you own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I don't do all the work for it. I just own it, or I'm the investor into it, or whatever. And so we were trying to shift from just having a business that we were all in, that we were doing all the work, to now having the passive income, like you were saying. So that's how it comes to me. And at this point, I'm like, yo, I'm with it. I'm always like that though. I'm always like, I'm with it. So Malcolm is my rational brain. And so now I have to bring it to him. He's like, I need you to talk to the dude who told you, and tell him to get you on the phone with the dude who do the stuff. I need to know from him all the details.
What exactly did he say to you that intrigued you? Like did he say Amazon? Like, I'm doing Amazon?
Yeah, he said everything. Like, there was nothing. It wasn't e-commerce. Like, I knew it wasn't e-commerce. I knew it was an Amazon store. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew everything that he was doing was on Amazon. But I understood e-commerce. And so I wanted to get into the e-com game. Mm-hmm. And so in my mind, that was the opportunity to do so, but it be automated. The two things I know that I heard that, three things: Amazon, automated, and whatever the profit was.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I'm like, well, what we probably need to move forward to is automation. But remember, we haven't had that conversation yet either. Mm-hmm. And so I remember now having the conversation. I'm like, well, I have things I can bring to the table. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But obviously we needed to evaluate each opportunity to see what would make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what was the mindset before you told me?
Nothing.
Just like, let's get this money?
Yeah. You know that's my mindset. I don't need too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been the risky one in our relationship. I'm going to risk if I got it and it's like disposable, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not my last 5,000, not my last 10,000, my last 50,000. If it's like, oh, I can afford to do that and it's not going to feel like anything, I'm probably going to do it.
Yeah.
Because no risk, no reward. Like, nothing that we've achieved that has been great has not come without my risk.
Yeah.
And you're rational.
My rationality. So yeah, when you came to me about the Amazon store, I didn't know it was Amazon FBA. I had seen everything about Amazon FBA on my timeline, like, I don't even know, for probably a year.
Because they listen to it.
And I never really thought about it because, they was talking about astronomical numbers, like, hey, we can build you a store for $15,000.
That too.
$20,000. I'm like, whoa.
That was another aspect when I asked how much he had paid for it, when I knew how much people were charging.
Right. Yeah. We knew how much people were charging for this kind of service.
Typically, it's like 20,000 and above.
So he told us that the buy-in to start the actual store was $5,000.
Yep.
Right. So that was the initial investment. That was actually the only investment that you had to make, was the $5,000. Mm-hmm. Now, but it wasn't the only investment you had to make.
Yeah.
Because there is other costs involved. What I mean by that is, so when they're opening up a store for you, what you have to do is you'll have to open up an LLC. You have to open up an LLC, get a EIN number, and a business bank account, like any other business.
Right.
The thing about that is, they run the business based upon credit. Mm-hmm. So it's based upon whatever you get approved for credit limit wise, is what you have the purchasing power to now start your store.
So what that means is you have to have a business credit line.
Yeah.
Or some people are using personal credit.
Which I wouldn't recommend. I'm
consistently remembering more things that were intriguing to me is because I knew that the limit did not exist on our American Express card.
So that's the trap. That's the trap that they set for you. So We'll talk about that too, but
as you bring that part up, it's reminding me of all the things that made me intrigued, because it's like because he was telling me what his limit was, and he had a very low limit, which was why his profit was what it was. So in my mind, if I know that I don't have a limit and you do, and you tell me what your profit is, mine should be that time. I should be doing 50,000.
Yeah,
I should be doing it, or at least 5.
All you saw was green.
All I saw was okay. In my mind, I think I've gotten to a place over the last 2 years where it doesn't have to be astronomical amounts. How many ways can I make? How many different times can I produce income that pays my expenses?
Yeah,
as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, as long as I can make $6,000 at the time, we have drastically lowered our expenses. But
yeah,
I think we talked about that 2 seasons ago. But as long as I can make enough to have multiple streams of my expenses, because what Malcolm said already is that business does have ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys, and I don't think a lot of times we talk about peaks and valleys. We only talk about good. Nothing is always as good as it seems, and nothing is always as bad as it seems. And so when you think about the valley, in my mind, if I can have multiple streams of just my expenses, nothing is always going to be up and nothing's going to always be down, and they're never going to be that at the same time.
Correct.
That was my mindset. So I'm like, all right, cool. If I don't have a limit and you're telling me what your limit is, and you're making $500 to $1,000 a month in profit,
Mm-hmm.
then I know I can meet that goal maybe at least once, maybe twice a month, and be able to be good
and be cool. So, so with the business model is basically you have to get everything set up yourself on the back end, but you have to sign a contract.
Mm-hmm.
You sign a contract. It was it's always different for the company that you're working with, but this particular company that we were working with, it was $5,000 up front, and then you had we had to sign a contract, of course, which was a year of service,
Mm-hmm.
and some other preliminary things in there, meaning like I think if you it was something about, was it refundable, not refundable? I can't remember that.
I need to see the contract.
I can't remember the terms. Either way, we read that. We read over that. It was a standard contract. That wasn't the issue. Now, when it comes to getting a line of credit, it's all based upon your personal credit, probably, because if most people do not have business credit.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, we didn't have business credit, but we did get the credit in our business name.
But I thought we already had that card.
No, we didn't. Did it? No,
we did. We had to have already had
Yeah,
the
we
card
had-
because
we had the
I
card. Yeah,
already
you're
had
right.
the mindset around.
You're right.
The
Yeah,
card.
we had that car for about close to a year by that time, right? Or less than a
No,
year.
I think we had just got it.
It wasn't too. It wasn't.
Because I remember the other, one of those credit plays is make sure you get you a credit card that has 0% interest for the first year.
So to that point, yeah, you're right. We got it. Not too.
It was probably like around that time. Like I
Yeah,
think we had just
right around
got
that
it.
time.
Or it was fresh.
So I went to American Express. I applied for an American Express line of credit to put in our business name at the time, and of course they give you your allotment or things like that based upon your personal credit. But at least it's still in your business name. So you now get the chance to start building some business credit.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they give you a charge card, which basically like you don't have a limit per se. You will develop a limit over time based upon your usage rate
Mm-hmm.
and how much you probably will need.
Mm-hmm.
But there did come a time where we got to a point where it's like, okay, you kind of have a limit, but you don't. Like I had to ask for more limit because of what the store was doing. Now here's the risk. Obviously, how I was seeing it was, yes, you are starting this business. We're already $5,000, in the initial investment.
Mm-hmm.
It probably cost $600 to get this American Platinum card, whatever it is. Now, for the first year, I have zero interest, so I'm thinking, okay, starting this Amazon business for a year, I'm not going to pay any interest anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a plus. The thing about it is, the risky side gets to it is that you will be having to purchase these items with your credit card through a third party. So say you're selling Amazon, you're saying you're selling pillows on Amazon.
Yeah.
You have to go buy that pillow from Walmart.
This was our model. based off
This
of
is our model. Some
what we find
models are
out.
different.
Yes.
Models are very different, but this is, and we'll talk about the due diligence I should have done.
Yeah. So basically, Walmart was our supplier. We would put the product was being, and when I say we, this is who was running the store, but the product would be placed on the Amazon store, and then it would be purchased for obviously a lower price from Walmart, shipped from Walmart to the customer. But yeah, so basically that's the process of the business model of how things were flowing, which in my eyes, if I don't have knowledge of what their processes and procedures are, or policies and procedures are, then I assume that that's how that works. And the reason why it didn't raise any red flags to me is because I already was trying to get into e-commerce, in which I had already done that. I sold the rolls. I sold other, different, just goods or whatever, like kitchen goods and stuff like that. And so the model is, if you're on Shopify, it's the same process. If you're on Shopify, you go on Shopify, you set up your store. When somebody purchases the items you've now placed on that store, you go to AliExpress and you purchase whatever it is that you need to purchase, and you ship from AliExpress to the customer, because you might be selling something for $15 and you can get it on AliExpress for 2 cents. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why it doesn't raise any red flags for me, because I've already done this in a different arena. I'm just thinking, instead of me having to do all that, it's being done for me.
Right.
And it's on a bigger platform. And obviously you already know how to scale up this type of business. The reason why I didn't continue with e-commerce is, which, let me not say didn't continue, but at the time, like with the Rose stores, like the way people were building that, y'all seen Shade Room, Spiritual World, all these different pages where you see somebody post whatever. Well, they might have paid $1,200, $500, $250 for one post or one story or one skit or whatever.
More than likely.
And so, that's another version. I was like, I don't want to do the research to like find these people. And every time I found a good page, by the time I found it, I'm looking at all the people I know that's selling the same product already got their post on this page. So we overdoing it at this point. Like, we get it. Y'all use the Rose. You know what I'm saying? And so, so for me, I'm like, I want to know, I know this is a lucrative space because I've already seen people make money in it. And this is beyond the people that I know. I've seen people making money in e-commerce for forever. You can go to TikTok right now and see how people are being profitable in the e-com space. So it didn't raise any red flags to me because I already know that that's how the drop shipping model works. The issue comes in is where Amazon does not allow drop shipping, and we didn't know that.
We'll get that. We'll get to that.
But what you were saying was like, this is how everything was working. They're charging our card though. What happens now is that Amazon is racking up the profits, and they give you a payout. They take their fees, yada yada yada, and they give you a payout. Now, at the beginning, it was a little bit by bit, inch by inch. I think our first month we might have profited like $600. I'm like, oh, this what unlimited gets you?
All right, so our first month though, it was like 10 days long.
It was like the end of a month.
Yeah,
but
it was the first 10 days, and we had profit about $600 or something like that.
But I wasn't mad at it because I'm just like, dang, like I literally didn't do anything. I would see just all the orders coming in on my Apple Watch, and I'm just like, dang, that's lit. Like,
so this is the thing. The company that was doing it for us, like, they know what they're doing.
They do.
They know what they're doing. It started the ramp up period. So it's a 90-day ramp up period. That happens where they get your store exposure, and hopefully you'll get some sales during this exposure period,
so that you're credible in Amazon's eyes.
Yeah, so you look credible in Amazon's eyes, and that you're not look like you're scamming and stuff like that. Now, what we didn't know on the back end side is that Amazon is changing leadership around this time too, though.
Correct.
We didn't know Jeff Bezos was stepping down. You know what I'm saying? And they're changing CEO, so they're changing leadership, meaning they're also changing policies and procedures. But what was it when I was thinking about the risk part of it? I'm thinking, okay, yes, it seems as though like you're getting yourself in debt, so to speak, with the credit card, but you're also getting the payout twice a month from Amazon. And where the discipline comes into this is that you have to pay the credit card first, pay the credit card off before you pay before you pay yourself and before you pay the employees that you hire to run your business.
Right.
And I believe we had that disciplined personality to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that wasn't my issue. So the second month, what did you start seeing?
I think we did maybe like I think the second month it might have been like 20,000-30,000.
So y'all see how it went from $600 the first month, and then by the second month,
Stupid.
our store had did over $30,000 in revenue already.
Mm-hmm.
So in revenue, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at us getting payouts of 15,000 or 10,000, whatever it is, and automatically paying the credit card off. So that was fine. Everything seemed cool. And I'm like, yo, this is
gonna be in a year.
And in my mind, y'all can imagine how I'm feeling like Jeff Bezos. I'm feeling like the smartest investor alive. You know what I'm saying? We're feeling like, okay, we got to play.
Because by the time, if this is what it's doing pre-profit,
yeah,
over the next, if their ramp up period was 90 days, like we're looking at it like, okay, because I think we started in February. We're like, yo, by September, the last quarter of the year, we are going, like everything is going to align.
Yeah,
that was our goal. We weren't looking for it to happen tomorrow, even if the profit was $300, $500. We were like, yo, by the time the last quarter of the year comes, we should be at a point where this is at least bringing us $2,000 to $5,000 a month.
Yeah, and and we kept our expectation very conservative, like you said, $2,000 to $5,000 a month. That was our whole goal. Now I had the projection of where we will be revenue wise within the first year, if we had continued on the path that we were already on, which was scaling rather fast. And that was going to be $500,000 within a year, or close to at least, in revenue. So I'm like, okay, this could be a very, very lucrative play that we can also now bring other people on board, right. being able to be an investor if you have the capital to start this type of business, and you have the ability to take on that type of risk.
I want to make sure I got the numbers right.
What?
Like what it was month to month.
Oh yeah.
Give me a coupon.
So by the third month, we are doing about $3,000 to $5,000 per day in revenue with this business. And now we're selling anything between office chairs to game chairs to anything you can think of. But the reason why we were able to scale that fast is because we didn't have per se a limit on our credit card, which most people typically will have a $10,000 limit, $15,000 limit from American Express, where they can only sell a certain amount of products per month. So your profit would kind of look a little small, or your revenue would look a little small. And actually not. When you think about in the grand scheme of things of business, if you're doing $5,000 a month in revenue, you can scale that pretty quickly. So with us, we like, okay, the next month we did about close to.
So May was 20,000. June is when everything. Oh hell. So April was like. Hold on. What in the stutter?
So, we just want to make sure that
I just want to make sure I'm saying the real stuff, and not hyping it. So. The statement for May, the beginning of May, the first month of May, the first half of May, the product charges we earned was $10,700, and I think the payout we got was about $9,300, and then the second half of May was another $14,500 we did. So 25,000, like I said.
Yeah, about 25,000.
25,000, and then they sent us the payout. The payout was 21,000.
And Amazon, what? That was the first payout. The second payout came up 4,000 or something, or Amazon took their fee.
No. The first payout was the 9,000 after the 10,000. Yeah. The second payout was 21,000.
I get you. Yeah. So what we didn't know is how much Amazon was taking out as far as fee wise. They do take out a substantial amount of fee.
They do.
And they keep revenue,
and they keep a reserve in your account for people who do refunds and stuff like that too, so that they can just take care of it versus it coming, you having to give the money back or charge back, stuff like that. The next month it says the balance in our account was 47,000. So at this point you're already at 75.
Yeah, we had did 75 within what, 2 months or so.
Yeah, so we're at the next month and we're at another 47,000. This is at the end of May, going into June, and then the last one was 33. So we had already done $100,000 in 90 days.
Yeah,
over 100K in 90 days. So we looking at this like this.
It's nuts.
And so y'all know, because I brought it to the table, I'm like, here I go again with a good risk, with a good risk again. And here we go, $100,000 up, and it's been 90 days. So again, we go back to our projections. We go back to it. And I think at the 90-day point, that next month was when we first got our first profit. It was about $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, this is what we expected. Like, if we just go ahead and let this do its thing, you know what I'm saying? And like he said, we're paying the credit card off, all this stuff. Like, we're doing everything in order, as is our custom.
Right. As
you guys are going to learn a lot this season. But as is our custom, to do things in order, to do things in a disciplined way, to steward over what we were getting properly, because we wanted this to work. And I remember getting a notification. Are we here yet in the story?
Yeah.
I get a notification because there's an app. Obviously, I just put it up on my phone. I get a notification that says your store is in jeopardy of being suspended. And I say, what the hell?
Right.
I send it over to everybody in our group chat, and they're like, rest assured, we're on it. We see the notification as well, and you good. And I'm like, all right, bet. Obviously, we're not handling it. So in our mind, it's like, all right, cool. They say it's straight. You know what I'm saying? They're going to handle it, blah, blah, blah. And as time progresses, this is probably within a two-week time span.
Dang, it was 2 weeks?
I don't think it was long. It might not have been 2 weeks.
All I remember is that we
woke up and it was gone.
Buku money the day, we was like, I was like, yo, $3,000. It's not even 12 p.m.
Yeah, so at this point, it's like,
and we had revenue $3,000 for the day, and I'm like, okay, this is crazy. This is getting crazy,
getting stupid.
And I'm like, I'm about to have to have a conversation with American Express. Like, y'all need to give me
more money.
You know what I'm saying? To be able to scale this.
Mm-hmm.
And
American Express points was going stupid.
Definitely was. American Express points were going crazy because you once you get the points,
right,
once you pay off the credit card,
mm-hmm,
which we were doing. And Amazon, one day we wake up and Amazon terminates our account, deactivates our account.
No, they suspended it first.
Suspended it, yeah, but it's a deactivation. That's what it said.
It wasn't. No, that's what it says now, but it didn't say it at first.
I got you.
It was the account was was suspended. But the trash part about it was like a day or two before we were getting a payout. And I don't think we would care if we got the money.
We wouldn't. I wouldn't have cared.
If that happens 2 days later, or we had just got to a point where you could request to get your funds early, you just wouldn't get the full amount.
Right, and I did that before.
And we had done it
time.
before,
yeah.
But it was just kind of like, I need the full amount. Like, I don't, it's not enough to make it make sense.
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, it's only 2 days. Like, it don't even matter. You know what I'm saying? Now, at this point, you're just like, it's cool. Don't worry about it. It's 2 days. We'll get the money. We'll pay the card. Just as we always do. Nothing was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, we weren't thinking anything because everything had been just the same. Mm-hmm. We have been getting payouts, multiple payouts, and we have been paying the card off. So nothing was abnormal, nothing. One day it's gone, and they have your money.
They have your money,
but you
hold.
still have a bill.
But you have to pay American Express. So this is where people get messed up, is that you typically won't have enough time to create a cash reserve for yourself bank account wise. So typically you would run it just like if you were a landlord. Like,
mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, you're getting profit every month, you're getting money every month, cash flow, but you don't need to start spending that money yet. You need to be putting that money aside, in case there's something breaks in the house, mm-hmm. or something that you have to expense that you don't have to come out of pocket. You come out of your reserves. So we didn't have enough time
to build the reserve.
To be able to pay off a credit card.
A business reserve.
A business reserve, yes. In case something like this may happen where you have to pay off the credit card in order to bring yourself back to zero,
mm-hmm.
and you eliminate your risk.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people get messed up when they will take on this massive amount of credit card debt, and they're not able to pay it back if Amazon cuts off your account. Now, for me, just accountability wise, I didn't even know Amazon could cut off your business at the blink of a hat. I didn't know that they could just stop
just because they want to,
and because they claim that you are selling fraudulently.
Now, before you even go there, let me talk about the suspension policy.
Right.
The suspension was based off of a 1% defect rate.
Correct. Yeah.
1%.
The wildest shit I've ever heard.
Crazy.
1% out of however many hundreds of orders or thousands of orders you did.
We had over almost 700 products that had sold in this period of time, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? There were, I'm sorry, it was almost 500, my bad. It wasn't 700, it was almost 500. It was like 490 something. Okay. And out of the 490 something, 6 were either not delivered
or defected
or arrived defected, which obviously that didn't come from the store. It came in transit. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then we were receiving things to our house.
Yeah, we were receiving
we got two of the 6 were at our house. But we're like, yo, why is stuff coming to the house? Like, what do you want us to do with it? They're like, oh, don't even worry about it. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Like, the point of you doing this and me paying you is that I don't have to think about it.
Yeah. So
if you say don't worry about it, whatever, cool. But these people are now not reporting the page, but like asking for a refund. And this is what I learned later on. So they're asking for a refund, but they're also rating the store. When you go on Amazon or any store and you do those ratings and all that stuff like that, that also has the potential to shut somebody's store down. Now, you're not asking why you did. And the thing was, somebody was managing it to talk to them, to speak to the, doing the customer support and all that stuff like that. And so if I'm telling you, something came to my house, that means somebody didn't receive it, but they paid for it. And so in my eyes, I'm like, all right, I guess, well, they got the refund, so it is what it is. But what they were doing is, even though they got their money back, because nobody was without their money, but when they got their money back, they were rating and reviewing the store, and they were putting reviews saying, oh, this store scammed me, or this store did this. And so now this is raising the red flags with Amazon for them to now say, you have 6 default products out of 500. That is above the 1% ratio, the 1% allotment that you even have, and we about to clip this store.
Right.
And I just think 1% is just like really, really absurd.
They can clip
absurd
it at any given time. So,
and they know you got money in there.
So here's the back end thing about it though. There's multiple factors that can happen or reasons why that is out of your control. One, your store could be scaling too fast that somebody sees the product and they want your product that you're selling because they know it sells. So they'll put your store down, and Amazon will sell what you're selling on your store. Like they'll recognize, okay, this store is selling well. Let me shut them down and we'll sell this ourselves and make the profit on ourselves. That's a backside of what can happen in this industry with Amazon. Also, other people will see that other stores will see that this store is doing well, and they see your product, and they will put the bad reviews on your store in order for your store to get suspended. And then now they take those products and sell them for themselves too. These are things that happen every single day. That one I had no idea about, and also about the policy wise, I did not know that they could do that at the drop of a hat, and they didn't that they'll hold your money. I didn't know that they could hold your money, and then there's like a 90-day period or something like that you have to wait. You have to wait 90 days.
90 days to now request to get your money.
Yeah, to now request to get your money. And that's when all hell broke loose. Because the 90 days come and
everything is actually falling apart at the same time.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what the hell?
And the thing is, it's like, of course I can dip into my personal savings, but, just because of the way things were moving between business, and then we decided to downgrade because we're like, okay, we need to get ahead of what's happening within our business, what's happening with our finances. We have to move accordingly. And this was supposed to be something that if what's happening, like, it's like literally the things that we were preparing for and the reasons why we were making the investments that we were making, the things were happening. but we had positioned ourselves for it to not affect us. Like we were literally in the perfect position. We planned everything properly, but now the thing that was supposed to be the the plan B or the next option of payment is also crumbling. And this is like, at a point, because literally that the payment before that was the first time we had actually turned a profit. And so it was like, okay, cool. We're now at the 2000, whatever. And we were also about to get the payout. So like we said, it had we got the payout, we wouldn't have cared about the store being suspended in the first place, because at least I've got my balance and my debt to zero, my business debt to zero, and not having to now take personal money to pay business problems, to deal with business issues. And, this is where y'all have seen, those of y'all who have asked us to talk about it, kind of elaborate more on it. You've seen Malcolm be like, yo, Amazon owe me money. Amazon owe me money. Amazon is crazy. And literally we have been, since that 90-day period, like literally trying to get the money up until literally what was Monday what was this, Thursday was the last straw, where at this point, we did all the things they need to do, did legal action, and now it's to the point where it's like, what it's going to cost to move forward from a legal standpoint. Obviously, you got to look at it. It's $1 trillion company. And so you then have to also say, damn, I literally have it's like, unfortunately, that you have to, nobody ever wants to say this, but you got to take it on the chin and take your L, because they have decided their decision was, oh no, we still don't like it. So
yeah, she had to do a whole interview.
Had to do an interview to prove my identity. They're like, I'm like, I did this the first time. You saw me when I set the store up. You have to do a whole like call with somebody on Zoom or whatever. Their Zoom, they have their own like Zoom portal. Mm-hmm. You have to do a call with somebody. They have to see you to make sure like you are who you say you are, etc. So I'm like, I've done all this. Like, I'm giving you all the information that you need, and your decision is like, nah, yeah, we still believe that it wasn't. We don't agree. We don't like it. So we were going to permanently keep your funds. And that's what their decision was. And we reserve the right to no longer respond in regards to this matter. Is literally what their legal team said to our legal team.
And what they'll do slick is that you'll have this money, you can have whatever. It could be $500 or it could be, $10,000. You can have this money in account reserve this entire litigation period. And then eventually they just move it to an expense account. Mm-hmm. They move it to expenses, meaning it's no longer your an account reserve account where they have to pay it back, pay it out to you. Mm-hmm. But they don't have to, obviously. But they could pay it out to you. They move it to an expense where they just expensed it, where now I don't have to pay you that money. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very slick how they do it. And then they bring you through this whole process of making you think that you're going to be able to get the funds out. Mm-hmm. And then they send you an email with the final decision of, we're not going to give you this money, and you don't have to, don't hit us up again.
Don't hit us up no more. That's what we said. That's what we sticking to. Go and live your life. And, when you think about the fact that was a year ago, like the store's been shut down since July of 22. And so we've been literally dealing with this for a year. And, on the hindsight, like I said, you end up having to take it on the chin and say,
guess what? Something just flew my eye.
This nigga fly. And then you have to like, that's good still. Mm-hmm. Take it on the chin and just be like, damn, like, because basically at the point that we're at now, what it's going to cost to fight again is more than what's in there. And so it's like, then it ain't even gonna make sense for you on the back end, because you would have spent all the money to fight it just to get nothing. Yeah. The balance is zero. The balance becomes zero for you doing all that. And so, I guess I don't want to go into necessarily life lessons, but what
we definitely have lessons from it though.
Yeah, for sure. So what was I know you said like one of the things was the accountability piece, and you're like, I didn't do my Malcolm due diligence.
Yeah, like I would say from an investor standpoint, like, for people to learn from us in our situation, what happened is that, before investing your money into businesses or buying a business or whatever it is, doing the due diligence of policy, of the industry policy. Because what I didn't do is I didn't study the industry that I was getting into. Mm. That was the thing. I didn't study like I normally do. I would study the industry before I get into it, so I would know the risk that I have to take or that I have to be okay with, and I know the reward. And at this case, I knew a lot of the reward, and I only knew one part of the risk. I didn't see the full picture of what the risk could be, and that's the one of the biggest lessons I had, because most people will get themselves in a world of trouble just by not taking that extra mile and going and figuring out all the things that people aren't willing to tell you, because this company that we invested into to do this for us, they knew that.
Because they knew what to tell you for the meeting.
You know what I'm saying? They knew that risk of, your store could be shut down at any point in time.
Because after our store got shut down, they changed even their policies to make sure that they were
compliant,
compliant and like being able to, because it wasn't just our store, like it had happened to
hundreds
of people. But they even began to change their policies and started sending out like new company policies so our process might take a little bit longer, or shipping to your clients might take shipping to your customers might take a little longer, because this is what we're going to do our due diligence in order for your stores to for this to no longer be an issue, which I can appreciate that, but this don't help me until I get my store back. And if I get it back, am I even willing to assume this risk again?
Yeah, and there was a hell no. Obviously, when I learned,
sure.
This, I'm like, this risk is beyond me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm risk averse, right. To an extent. Obviously, I'm willing to take risks, but it has to be calculated. And this time, it was calculated to a fault. And you gotta take that on the chin as an investor. You gotta take that on the chin and be accountable for the things that you didn't do. I would say, what was one of your lessons?
I'll never stop being a risk taker. I think moments like this make you want to say, I hate that it was my idea. They're always my idea. Typically, they're always my idea. Sometimes, sometimes, like, I mean, I'm not saying you don't bring anything to the table. Like you bring things to the table too.
I think you trust me to make the final decision. Not I was cool with taking on this.
Yeah. I mean, and it, like I said, everything was good until it just wasn't, and I think sometimes for me, it's hard to be the person in the family that had the effed up opportunity. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's all fun and games when it's up, you know what I mean? But you always wonder, like, dang, what does this person think of me? Like, we only in this situation because of me. You know what I'm saying? And so,
you thought I felt like that?
No, I know you didn't feel that way, but I felt that way.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And it's also often self-inflicted, and obviously we're not mind readers, but as people, it is a habit for us to think what the other person is thinking.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of me? Or like, this is all my fault and all that stuff like that. But, it's understanding, like, obviously you don't know what you don't know, but also, you can't control everything too. And I think it also for us was deeper than the store. You know what I'm saying? We were in a place where we were so focused on money. We were so focused on diversifying before, other things fell apart. And I think because that was the sole focus, we had lost sight of so many other things that our life was built off of. You know what I'm saying? We were in college, we had nothing. We were consistently praying every time we prayed. And I never heard this before, right? Growing up in a household, and going to church my whole life, like, I'd never heard somebody say this in a prayer until you prayed. Like one of the first times we prayed together, and every time he would end his prayer, he would say, "And Lord, we thank you for prosperity and abundance in Jesus' name, amen." And for years, we had prayed the prayer for prosperity and abundance. We have been speaking that over our lives since we were 20 years old. And somewhere along the line of being now in our prosperity and being in our abundance, we stopped asking for it, and we stopped speaking toward it. We stopped focusing on who gave it to us and who we were asking it from, asking for opportunities from. Like, I think because that was our prayer, obviously he put things in our path for us to be able to do and for us to be successful at, for us to develop skill sets that would allow us to be who we have now become. But I think in the midst of being within something like that, and now having opportunities to do things with money, we lost sight of how we got here and all the things that we did to get here. Not the physical things, but the intangibles of just saying, God, thank you. And we thank you for the prosperity and abundance that's to come. And we thank you for what you've already given us. And if you don't give us anything else, we're grateful still nonetheless. And it's easy to do when you don't have anything. And I think at that moment in time, it wasn't just about Amazon. We were being stripped of everything to bring us back to who we are at the core. At the
core, yeah.
So, I mean, for me, the life lesson was like, really having to strip away a lot of things. And not that I've liked it. And not that it's been comfortable, but it's also being able to now ask yourself a question. Like, if somebody comes to you with a $5,000 business opportunity, $20,000 business opportunity, and this is literally what God had spoke to me about in February of last year. And I shared that with you because we have differing thoughts on certain levels of giving when it comes to church. But at the time, I went to church one night. I went to visit a friend's church, and there was an offering that was taken at the end, and I already knew that the number was going to be $1,000. Now, some people are listening to this like, I cannot believe, see, this is what church, this how people be, and this how these churches, like, this is not the point. The point is not about giving $1,000 to the church. The point was that we had just started that Amazon store for $5,000. Somebody brought me a business, $5,000 out my account, no problem. I got a business, I got an LLC, I got an EIN. I done went and made a whole nother business account. I done did all this stuff in less than 2 days. Had another business opportunity. It was a multiple 5 figures. Like at the bank the next day to do the and so the minute that now it's in church or like it's for God, and literally the Lord spoke to me and said, if it was somebody else that was bringing you another business opportunity, and it was $1,000, you wouldn't even hesitate. You'd be like, oh, it's just $1,000. But when it's me, or when it's now in this place and it's for me, you thinking about it. You don't think about nothing else. And so I don't think all of it was for nothing financially. Yes, obviously you never want to take a loss in business, but one, that's business. And although a lot of people won't talk about losses, or they, and the wins, because we talk about,
be true about it,
although people don't typically tell you the risks that are involved with certain things that you're going to get involved in, don't not take them. But also, we needed everything to be dismantled at the time that it was for us to get back to who we were at the core, to remember where all of the abundance has come from and where it's going to continue to come from. It's not because we're so good. It's not because we got the best ideas or we come across the greatest opportunities. It's because the Lord has put those people in our path, or the opportunities in our path, and connected us to things in ways that he needed to, for us to get what he wants out of us. The minute you forget that, everything started to literally turn into straight trash. Uncontrollably.
Yeah,
why? Because we were trying to control it.
Yeah, it's like you feel like you're doing all the right things, but
we were.
You were.
But we were.
Yeah, we were. But it's, like you said, the other part, the spiritual part wasn't there. It wasn't intact. And I think it's so many lessons that I think I got from this one. But the other thing I would say is that just taking on a risk that you can handle is very, very important. And knowing how to navigate it and get through it with your significant other, if you have one, or your business partner, if you have one of those. And I was just thankful enough that we had getting a payout from another investment that allowed us to pay off this investment. You know what I'm saying? That thing, because no one wants to get into a business and acquire debt that you cannot get out of. And the lesson is stewardship. The lesson is complete stewardship and being okay with walking away from certain opportunities if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't seem right, or if you don't have all the facts. It's okay to say no. And I want people to understand that. And that this thing is it's a journey. It's an ebb and flow. You know what I'm saying? If you want to, like I said, like I've always told you that I want to be a full-time investor.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that there is going to be losses along the way. I understood that it was going to be lessons that I was going to have, and we were going to have along the way. But understanding that you can control what you can control and work on the other things to get better at your decision making is also important too.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, like with you saying that too, it's also, don't feel like you're missing out. I think,
hell no.
For me, I definitely at that time, like a lot of us, we suffer with FOMO.
Mm-hmm.
COVID, the reason why a lot of entrepreneurs made money was based off of the other person having extreme FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm missing out. Even when I decided to make a transition, my first big life career pivot at the end of 2022, I remember talking to you and I said, am I going to be salty when it works for them?
Yeah,
because that's a real thing. Like, I think if we can get closer to ourselves to be able to ask ourselves the tough questions that are, or speak to somebody who you can confide in, that you love, that's going to give you the real and allow you to be vulnerable in that moment to say, this really is how I feel about it. Like, I know what I feel like I should do, what I'm leaning towards doing, or what I want to do. But the truth of the matter is, I also feel like I'm going to be pissed when everybody makes money and I'm the only one that didn't, because I decided to walk away. And so it's being okay with everything ain't for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not for you, and if you don't participate, don't feel like I missed it or I'm missing it. It's not for you. Everything ain't for you. And what God has for you is going to be for you. If it's supposed to make sense, it's supposed to make sense. Sometimes when we move on our own, we get, like what Pastor would say today. He said, sometimes we end up in life situations and seasons because of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always, life don't always be lifing because it just decided to life be lifing because we did something. and the something that was done in another season produces what you get in this season. And so don't feel like you're missing out just because you don't participate in everything, because everything just ain't for you. And that's okay.
It's definitely okay. Yeah, I think we gave the full truth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
from our perspective,
from Amazon and their procedures and what they allow and don't allow and what you can look out for.
Yeah,
because
and
it is
definitely
predatory.
ask a lot more questions. Like,
ask a lot more. That's another lesson. Yeah, ask more questions.
Ask more questions and be okay with the answers too. Like, and if the answers we were getting today were the answers we were getting then, I don't think we would have done it either, because the vagueness or the general I got you don't cut it when my money is involved. So be okay. Like, ask a lot of questions and don't feel pesty. I think when it comes
pessimistic. Don't feel like you're a pessimist.
No, not even a pessimist. Don't feel like you're being a pest.
Yeah.
Because you want more details. Like, yo, do your due diligence. And yeah, like, but don't stop taking risks just because it's scary or because you took an L before. Everything is, L for us is never a loss. It's more so about a lesson. What did you learn in it? This is why we're talking about it, because we learned a lot in that moment. We evaluate our investment opportunities and our investments very differently based off of that experience. Now we do ask a lot more questions. We do a lot more research. We do learn more about those industries because we need to have a different level of understanding versus knowing somebody made money and now I feel like that's what I got to do to make money. Mm-hmm. That's where we are as a society. That's where we are as millennials. Gen Z, it's like you look at the person on social media who got a Lambo and said, I retired from my job at 22 after making my first $50,000 from being a social media content creator. And now you done quit your job because you feel like you could do the same thing. And it's not that you can't, but did you do what you had to do in order to get there to know how that makes money first?
Yeah, I had to start seeing the irony and the silver lining in it, man, because
gotta laugh to keep
it could have been way worse.
For sure.
Like, before they shut the store down, y'all, we had received like $50,000 from that month, in payouts. You know what I'm saying? We had received $50,000. So what if they would have held $50,000 from us? You know what I'm saying? They only held close to 7 or something.
Like 7,000.
No, it was 10, but we
10.
ain't owe 10. We ain't owe 10.
No. It was
most
10.
of that was profit.
It was 10, but they had ended up taking up some back for like refunds and returns and all the stuff like that.
It just could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
And I think that was God's covering for one.
Yes, the grace and mercy.
Grace, and sometimes he put that little L in there for you to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so remind you.
It's a little spanking.
It was, but I feel grateful. Honestly, I feel grateful that it ended the way it did. It could have been way worse, and I've seen it happen way worse for other people in our same predicament that made the same investments. That had the same kind of stores, and they had a whole different situation. Yeah, and it catastrophic. So I'm really thankful. I'm glad we talked about this. Yeah, because
we need a little release.
Here. Listen, I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time, y'all.
The way Malcolm be punching the air in this house.
Oh man, I hate Amazon. I ain't gonna lie to you, but it is what it is.
But not enough for me to stop shopping from there.
Unfortunately, because man, if I could just boycott them, if I get everybody in the world to boycott them.
I never could. Look, we're literally getting a message from Amazon and in the same minute. I'm like, "Ooh, babe, I found a glass tabletop on Amazon." Amazon. Everything that I buy is probably coming from Amazon, and literally we're legal battles at the same time. So, at the end of the day, also find a way to find joy in everything, man. Like everything happens for a reason, and you choose what you get out of every reason. So yeah, I'm glad we talked about it too.
Yeah, this has been another one.
Yes, this has been another episode of the So Let's Talk About It podcast. I am your host, Brittany Garrison.
And I'm Malcolm Garrison.
And you can follow me at Brittany Donnell.
You can follow me at Malcolm_2_Garrison.
And don't forget to follow the show at So Let's Talk About It pod. If you are listening on Spotify, there'll be a question in here. We want to know what you guys thought about the episode. Make sure you click the actual episode and you can actually respond to us so we can engage with you and hear your thoughts on the episode and hear what was your worst investment
right.
Or best investment too, because we've had great ones. Y'all get the whole thing. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to subscribe to the show. Don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to talk about the stuff that we want to talk about and the stuff that we want to share with you guys, but also be able to reach more people. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube too.
All right, y'all.
We'll see y'all on the next episode.
Peace.